So we're going to make our country wealthy again. We're going to make our country safe again. We're going to rebuild our inner cities because our African-American communities are absolutely in the worst shape that they've ever been in before, ever, ever, ever. You take a look at the inner cities, you get no education, you get no jobs, you get shot walking down the street. They're worse. I mean, honestly, places like Afghanistan are safer than some of our inner cities. And I say to the African-American communities, and I think it's resonating, because you see what's happening with my poll numbers with African-Americans. They're going like high. With the inner cities, I say to the African-American people that have to suffer in these inner cities, what do you have to lose? I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it.
As we mentioned at the top of the program, President Trump taped an interview with CBS News before his White House session with Reporters Day. In one exchange, he talked about both the Confederate flag and the number of white people killed by the police as compared to black people.
President Trump, back in 2015, you said the Confederate battle flag belongs in a museum. Do you still believe that?
All I say is freedom of speech. It's very simple. My attitude is freedom of speech. Very strong views on the Confederate flag. With me, it's freedom of speech. Very simple. Like it, don't like it, it's freedom of speech.
Would you be comfortable with your supporters displaying the Confederate battle flag at political events?
You know, it depends on what your definition is, but I am comfortable with freedom of speech. It's very simple.
Well, you understand why the flag is a painful symbol for many people because it's a reminder of slavery.
Well, people love it, and I know people that like the Confederate flag, and they're not thinking about slavery. I look at NASCAR. You go to NASCAR, you had those flags all over the place. They stopped it. I just think it's freedom of speech, whether it's Confederate flags or Black Lives Matter or anything else you want to talk about. It's freedom of speech.
Let's talk about George Floyd. You said George Floyd's death was a terrible thing.
Terrible.
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. So are white people. More white people, by the way. More white people.
Well, obviously, the second part of the president's answer deserves some context as far as police killings. According to a study published in 2018 by the American Journal of Public Health, adjusted for population, black men are 3.5 times more likely to be killed by the police than white men. As you heard, the president displaying the Confederate flag as free speech.
If you're in the Oval Office today, what would you say to him?
Resign.
Boil it down. What's the single most important thing you think the country needs to know about your uncle?
He's utterly incapable of leading this country. And it's dangerous to allow him to do so.
Based on what you see now or what you saw then?
Based on what I've seen my entire adult life.
To the race for the White House and Donald Trump's campaign reset. The nominee with a new pitch to African-American voters saying, quote, "You're living in poverty, you have no jobs." Hillary Clinton calling his words ignorant. Here's ABC's Mary Bruce with the fallout and the firestorm.
Donald Trump meeting with his Hispanic advisors today as he ups his outreach to minority voters and asks African Americans this stark question.
What do you have to lose?
Speaking to a mostly white crowd in Michigan Friday, Trump urged African Americans to give him a chance.
And what do you have to lose? You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed.
And made this bold prediction.
At the end of 4 years, I guarantee you that I will get over 95% of the African American vote. I promise you.
But the latest polling shows Trump with just 2% of the African-American vote. The comment sparking swift criticism. Clinton tweeting, "This is so ignorant, it's staggering."
More than 75% of us are not living in poverty. We are employed. We are working hard. Americans who are contributing. We're not looking for free stuff or handouts. Well, this will hurt him among African-American voters.